most hilarious claims on paternity court.
You said you never married her.
I never married her.
So why you say good-looking husband?
That's because there was so many of them.
So the milkman, what happened to the milkman?
Hold
now
on.
It's the mailman. It was the milkman. Now it's the mailman.
Well, now I'm getting
It's like a back and forth, a vice versa thing.
Mr. Horton dragged his wife to court to prove that his alleged daughter was the result of his wife's infidelity with the milkman. Yeah, I know that sounds bizarre, but the trial started on a very serious note like this.
And have dragged your mother to court because you say she was never faithful. So neither of you believes that the man standing next to you is your biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Conrad.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you've given the plaintiffs no reason to doubt that he is her biological father in today's results. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Lauren couldn't help but notice how this parental feud had affected this 26-year-old woman.
And you believe is your father questioning your paternity?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're both here to prove that he's not your biological father, and yet you're hoping that he is.
I'm praying, yes.
I'm hoping she is too, but right here every day. She's not your daughter. Why you taking care of her? Why you taking her? You know when I was running around, you know blah, 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 blah here all the time.
But Miss Conrad claimed that her husband was being outrageous, and she was sure that Miss Horton was Mr. Horton's daughter.
I am 150 to 200 sure he is the father of my daughter, Brenda.
Okay.
But you say you're 100% sure Miss Horton is not?
If you sleep around with different men and you sleep at the same time, how can you be sure?
Mr. Horton even told the court how he walked out on his wife cheating on him, and Miss Conrad agreed to that.
One time we lived in an apartment and a friend of mine, we were sitting there partying and I seen him give me the eye. And I said, I'm not stupid. I said, okay, so I went to act like I was going to bed. I heard the door shut real quiet. I knocked on the door. I said, let me in. You're not coming in. I said, is Brenda there? No. I said, let me in. She opened the door and she was in there.
Miss Conrad, is this true?
I have ran around on him, yes I have.
Okay, that's new. A woman claims that all her husband is saying is right, only the timing was off. Wow. Points for audacity.
Horton, she says your timing is off.
Wrong. In that period of time, there was always been affairs, always. In my opinion, if there's many stuck out of it in her, she'd be a porcupine. And that's the way I look at it.
That was wrong.
I just got that. We want to be respectful in the courtroom.
I'm trying to be respectful. That's why I put it nicely.
Though the plaintiff and defendant told the judge more about their unfaithful dynamic, the reality TV judge was more concerned with the time of conception.
Mr. Horton, during the window of time Miss Horton was conceived, do you contend, is it your testimony that there was a relationship outside of the marriage?
I've heard. We lived in town last at the time, and we had a mailman that had light hair and blue eyes and had a beauty mark right here. My daughter has blue eyes, blonde hair, and a beauty mark in the same exact spot.
It's cute.
And now, Mr. Horton was ready to take things to the next level, and he even brought an exhibit to show how things went down.
The birthmark, I call it, or beauty mark, whatever you want to call it, had the same mark, the same spot. I don't know for sure.
This mailman delivered your mail every day?
Yes.
And has blonde hair, blue eyes, and a birthmark?
Yes.
The same features as your daughter?
Yes. Nobody in my family has blue eyes on either side.
You can step back to the podium.
However, Miss Conrad's reaction toward the not-so-good presentation of facts was this.
But you know who this mailman is he's talking about? You don't even remember this person.
Oh, no, Your Honor. This is new to me.
That's because there was so many of them.
So the milkman, what happened to the milkman? Now it's the mailman. It was the milkman. Now it's the mailman.
Well, now I'm
it's like a back and forth, a vice versa thing with him. I don't know whether he can keep the right story or not.
How can we put an end to the charade of the milkman or mailman as the father? Well, I know only one solution. So, let's just get to it.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Horton, you are the father.
Guys, yes! Mommy, you were right! You were right, Mommy! You were right! I love you so much! I knew I should have believed you, Mom!
This paternity case began with Hall claiming that Richards was his son's father, while Richards was sly enough to claim that Miss Hall was just one of the 30 women pinning paternity on him.
Ms. Hall, you and your mother are furious with the defendant because he denies your 1-month-old son, Damani, and does nothing to support him. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Richards, you believe that Ms. Hall is claiming you are the father because she wants to be with you. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
At first, Judge Lauren even had a hard time trying to understand what Mr. Richards meant when he brought up the thirst theory.
I
But
would
he called her
admit,
thirsty, though.
I would admit I was being thirsty also.
Okay, hold on. And I don't understand. this.
So-
What
so-
does thirst mean? Does thirst mean, what does that mean?
Let me tell you, I knew I wasn't gonna have a long relationship with her, but when you feed somebody the lines that you know they wanna hear, that's thirst to get what you want from them.
And if you think that logic was flusy, then listen to their relationship timeline.
Not. How long did this relationship go on?
Basically a week.
It was like a fling. They stopped talking and then he came to spend time with her for her birthday and stayed a week.
Mr. Richards provided the court with this reason for the breakup.
I had a reason for breaking up with her. The day I was leaving, I go to the bus. It was about 9, 10 o'clock. I found out the bus didn't come to where I was going until 3 o'clock that afternoon. I called her. I told her I was coming back. She asked me where I was. I told her I was coming up the hill. As I was walking up the hill, there's a guy coming out the gate. Who's the guy coming out the gate? Where is he coming from?
It's a guy that lives in the back.
It was a back house too. It's a duplex and it's a back house.
But the reality TV judge was not buying the young man's pathetic excuses.
Type of commitment to one another, what would give you the right to take her phone, look in it, and then be angry if somebody was texting her? Well, it sounds like you went there to play her and then you got played and then you didn't
Or you could say I was looking for a reason not to talk to her anymore.
So, when the alleged baby's father found out about the pregnancy, this was his reaction.
She was pregnant and I was like, okay, and whose is it? And she said yours. And then I was like, so what happened to the other guy I seen? Like, what happened to the other guy I heard about?
It wasn't no other guy.
So you still maintain that that was a guy that lived in the back house behind your house.
However, when Mr. Richards was asked why he had doubts, he had no solid reason.
When you admittedly, Mr. Richards, went to visit her, slept with her unprotected for almost an entire week, and left 2 days before the prescribed conception date, which we know makes you fall in that window.
Other than me seeing that guy in the messages, there was just my relative heard from one of her relatives that she was living with a man the whole time she was pregnant.
Watching Mr. Richards made it clear that thirst begets thirst. But now, it was time for results. And some good schooling by Judge Lauren.
It's been determined by this court. Mr. Richards, you are the father.
Thank you.
How's it feel?
Like being a dad all over again.
How do you feel in this moment, Ms. Hall? I see tears in your eyes. What are you feeling?
I'm angry because I'm just trying to frame him. I didn't want him to be my baby daddy.
You didn't?
Mr. Johnson is attempting to get rid of his one-time fling because he believes the baby is too white to be his.
Mr. Johnson, you are here to claim her accusations are causing trouble in your relationship. You are certain the results will clear your name.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Kirby, you are positive your son was conceived during your sexual relationship with Mr. Johnson, and you say your son struggled with health issues and you need Mr. Johnson to step up.
Yes, Your Honor.
When the judge asked Miss Kirby if she was trying to pin the baby on Mr. Johnson, her response was this.
I'm trying to give my baby situated. He has health issues. I'm trying to see where he's coming from because it is not on my side of the family.
So I see you're emotional already. What are you feeling right now? How does it feel to know the man you are saying is father of your child is not acknowledging your child?
We planned this baby. He told me when we first met that I was going to be his baby mama. Now that he's here, he don't want to step up. Either he step up or he step down.
It's a big deal to call someone's baby mama, but for Mr. Johnson, it was just a ruse to get what he wanted.
I told her that she was gonna be my baby mama, but it was just talk. It was nothing like that. We only had sex. That was it, nothing more. And plus, she's trying to pin this baby on me because she need help now. And then
I don't
she
need your
wanna...
help. My baby's well taken care of. He's
Well-
been taken care of for almost a year now.
Well, why you threatening me with child support?
Because I know you ain't going to do nothing.
After listening to that, we got to the really uncomfortable part of how they both ended up making a baby.
We was working, we had a blackout. During the blackout, we decided to go to the store. We in my car, driving to the store. Charmaine started talking sexual. Then the next day, boom, we having sex. It was just a sexual relationship, that's it.
Mr. Johnson was asked by Judge Lauren how he found out about the baby.
I was at this party and I was scrolling on social media and I seen her post something about she don't need help with her child. So I hit her up, I was like, are you pregnant? She was like, yeah. Is the baby mine? She was like, no. So I left the party and went to her house. And then she flipped the script and was saying, well, yes, you are the father.
That's a good way to keep a guy away from the baby. But things went south when Miss Kirby did the conception math.
I did the calculations. We had sex July 10th, and that's around the time that I conceived Kaden.
So you looked at the conception window?
Yes, ma'am.
And you determined that was during the time when you were sexually active with Mr. Johnson?
Me and him had sex July 10th on our way when we got back from Clarksville.
Oh, so you're basing this on the exact date of sex?
Yes, Your Honor.
But what happened next made even the judge admire Mrs. Johnson's wooing abilities.
You wouldn't even buy a $5 box of chicken from Church's.
I was taking you to Burger King and going to Kroger grocery shopping for you.
Woo, Mr. Johnson, you know how to wine and dine. Yes, fantastic.
However, the situation was that a woman was raising a medically challenged child on her own and was looking for solutions.
It's been hard, but I managed.
When you say it's been hard, talk to the court about the struggles.
My baby has health issues. He has a G-tube, so we back and forth from different doctors, ENT, G-tube clinic, all that. And he's also albino.
So do you feel like that's one of the reasons Mr. Johnson is not believing?
Yes.
Because of his albinism?
Though Mr. Johnson was not convinced by the expert's explanation of albinism, the results proved otherwise.
Does that change your mind? Do you understand with greater certainty what albinism is, and does that change your mind as to whether or not you could be Caden's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor, I understand, but I still deny that he's not my child.
You don't believe he is?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, you are the father. Congratulations are in order again.
Who would think that just because their baby is a little lighter, it means there's been a switch? Yeah, I know that sounds bonkers, but to Miss Winslow, that's the only explanation.
Mr. Barlow, you say your 8 kids look exactly like you, but the defendant's son, Jabril, looks nothing like you. And that's because you're not his father, and you know who is. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Winslow, you stand in court stating that Mr. Barlow is your son's biological father, but also say if he's not, there's a good reason for it.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But the plaintiff believed that the baby's father was their landlord.
Who you believe his real father is?
Your Honor, I doubt these things due to the fact that during the time of Jabril's conception, I was away. You understand? And as I was away,
Your Honor, he was around enough for us to conceive. And
while I was away, you understand? While I was away, I believe she was sleeping with the landlord.
Mr. Barlow told the court how generous his landlord was towards his women.
While I'm away, I'm calling and stuff. She says, yo, you calling me? He here. Call me back.
Your Honor, the landlord was there at the house.
So you're saying when you would call, the landlord would be there and she tell you to call back?
Yeah.
He was doing his landlord responsibility.
So why hang up on me when I'm paying for the phone call?
Because he need my undivided attention to see what's going on with the house.
Miss Winslow, on the other hand, had her explanation.
You know why?
Put together the beds?
Yeah.
You know why?
I'm like, how
because he doesn't have contractors. He does things.
So what his so-called girlfriend thinking about
building
this?
himself. He doesn't have a hired contractor. He's doing everything himself. So if he has to come at 10 o'clock at night to fix some water that's leaking from my roof, 3 children in my house, then that's what he's gonna do.
Still, the baby daddy was not buying it at all.
Now you gotta pay me $2,500 for rent, right? For what reason do I say, okay, you ain't got it, just give me $300?
This is what happened. When I moved into this apartment building, I had got duped by a crooked person. The landlord that I was supposed to move into a house in, I paid him $2,000. What I went to do is get my lights cut on, and they told me that the place that I was trying to rent wasn't even rentable.
Miss Winslow, on the other hand, believed that Mr. Barlow had made everything up in his head due to his own insecurities.
His own insecurities because of his past and all the cheating he has done on me. He expected because I haven't cheated on him. You know what the real problem is, Your Honor? Mr. Barlow didn't know what the landlord looked like. So when he finally saw the landlord, he was like, oh, I thought the landlord was old. When he found out he was around our age, that's when his insecurities came in.
Ever since the features of the baby were discussed, the claim we mentioned before popped up, and it looked like Miss Winslow was ready to go to any length to prove her truth.
Now, if this boy isn't my son, that means not only do I have to find out who he actually belongs to, but then I have to find out where my biological child is.
This is a first in this courtroom. You're saying that you question whether or not you're this child's mother.
Yes.
This means that the paternity court will have to determine not only the paternity of the baby, but also the maternity.
So I needed to go back to my chambers. I needed to do some research. I needed to look through the results. I had to find the maternity portion of the results so that I could confirm whether or not you are in fact Jabril's mother.
So the bottom line was that the kid was with the right mother and right father. They were just having a tough time looking past something as petty as color.
Of Barlow versus Winslow, as it pertains to 20-month-old Jabril Barlow. Mr. Barlow, you are the father.
Thank you.
The bottom line is you are the mother and you are the father. And ultimately, you two have got to get past all of this that you've brought upon yourselves.
Okay, this next case is the first of its kind, as Miss Brown says that she was married to Mr. Shinoster and had a daughter with him. But Mr. Shinoster denies any recollection of such a past.
Ms. Brown, you claim the defendant got you pregnant while on a break from his wife. You say once today's results prove he is 6-month-old Blessing's father, you want him to stop denying her and step up. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The judge even asked the woman to tell how it all started between them.
We met through a mutual friend, which we basically had a long distance type of relationship. We talked on the phone, we Facebooked, all of that. We don't court. We meet, we get married. That's how it goes.
Before you can have intimacy with somebody,
Yes, ma'am.
you have to be married.
Yes, ma'am.
And was this before you actually met him in person?
Yes.
However, Mr. Shinoster only confessed to having a one-night stand with the woman.
Listen, wait. What I'm trying to understand is marriage or no marriage, you still say you had sex with her.
Yes, yes, I did.
So-
I did have unprotected sex with her.
And it was unprotected.
Yes, unprotected.
So
Unprotected sex.
would you have unprotected sex with
Well, probably.
And Miss Brown didn't take it well.
you saying? So what you saying? You're lying. When he came to my house, he came out.
Mr. Shinoster, how long did this relationship last with Miss Brown?
This is
48 hours,
exactly,
Donna.
he lies
So-
about every single
I got there on a
thing,
Friday, I
every
left Sunday.
So, Mr.
Whatever.
Shinoster, you said after that, that was the end of the relationship?
That was it. I never seen her again. Rarely spoke to her.
Even though the plaintiff confessed to having a relationship with another person, she was adamant that the baby was Mr. Shinoster's.
The end of the relationship with Mr. Shinoster, were you intimate with somebody else?
6 weeks after.
And how soon after that did you find out you were pregnant?
When I found out I was pregnant, I was 6 weeks and 3 days. I had sex with another man 3 days before I found out I was pregnant.
And so when you found that out, did you immediately call Mr. Shinoster?
Yes.
And what did you say to him?
I said I'm pregnant.
Miss Brown even presented evidence that Mr. Shinoster was a big, fat liar.
So you submitted evidence to the court. You submitted text messages that say the following. Mr. Shinoster says good-looking husband, beautiful wife equals good-looking babies. I'm just saying I love you and thanks you. Miss Brown, you respond, I love you too. Why are you thanking me? Laugh out loud. Mr. Shinoster says, for carrying my child. Thank you.
And this evidence sort of raised the judge's tempers really high.
You said you never married her.
I never married her.
So why you say good-looking husband?
I chose wrong. I chose my words unwisely.
You stuttering now.
Yeah, a little bit.
So let's just say, at this point, we know you lying.
Wait, what I'm lying
At
about?
some
Donna?
point,
That's what
you're lying about the fact that you gave this woman an intention to believe that you
Okay,
all
but
were
what am I
married.
lying about?
Whether you're lying about that you did at some point.
After this, Lauren pulled the true testimony out of the baby daddy like this.
Man,
that answered the phone
listen.
and told me that that's not my daughter. This is the same man that answered her telephone and told me that was not my daughter. Do not contact them. That he's going to take care of her.
Now that's the testimony you need to be giving.
Your Honor.
You're saying that this man was on the phone with you.
Was
he
on the phone
answered
with
the
me.
phone and told you this is not your child and don't come
And
around.
not to come around there.
Your Honor.
But not yet. It was time for the result to throw all the bogus claims out of the window.
Mr. Shinoster, you are the father. That's your baby. That's a beautiful little girl. She deserves her daddy. Not somebody standing up talking about, she ain't mine, she ain't this. Innocent babies don't deserve that.
Well, I know she's my daughter now. That won't happen. I take care of all my kids very well. I'm an excellent father.